Hey, everybody. Welcome to Catfish Weekly. Tonight's show is sponsored by Whiskerware Apparel, along with Chuck Davis. I'm Lyle Stokes, and we are going to start the show tonight talking about the 2016 Catfish Conference. Chuck, I just can't believe how big a success that event was down there in Versailles, Kentucky. I very well run. Steve and Jeff Jones Marine and all involved with that absolutely put on a great show.
Absolutely. I just couldn't believe, we were sitting there, doing our last minute touches before they were supposed to open the door. And I couldn't believe how many people was coming through the door. And when I looked at my phone and it was only 8:30, it wasn't even time for it to open yet. And, guys were just swarming by us already. I mean, it was unbelievable.
It really was. We got there about 8 o'clock, and I guess they had opened the doors up for the vendors and everybody to get their stuff in there and get all their booths set up and the final this and that, and for us to get the show stuff set up. And there was already people in there when they found out that they was letting vendors in. They just went in, with them and started looking around. And I think that everybody thought that there was not going to be any walking around room, but it was very comfortable in the back. We took a break for lunch and between shows and stuff. There was a lot of people in there. Now, I'm not going to say there wasn't, because there was a lot of people in there, but it wasn't too crowded. You could make your way around in there, and everybody was well behaved, well mannered. Everybody got along. Everybody had a great time. That's the way things like that are supposed to be run, and it was very impressive for them to put that together in about 60 days and come off as well as it did.
Oh yeah, there's no way you could have had any other type of event come off this well. I mean, everybody was so excited about it. The people who could make it, they made it. I know a lot of people had to work, and it about killed them not to make it. But there's always next year for them guys. And everybody knows. All they got to do is ask anybody else. They'll let them know what happened, what was going on. So, when we sat down and talked to Steve on that last episode of the show at the end, and he said that he may have to make it a longer event, 2 or 3 days. So more people have a chance to go. If it had been on a Sunday, it may have been a whole different venue.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I cannot imagine that it would be less than 2 days next year. Now, I'm not saying that because I do not know, but the amount of people and the numbers that was there one day. And a lot of them, like you say, they had to work or do this or do that, body run up and been there the second day. So I anticipate it being a 2-day event next time. And I can't, I was so disappointed when I found out James Patterson was there, and I didn't get to visit with him. And, you and I talked about that before we started the show. And James had sent me an email this morning, and he tried to get up there with us. And man, what a day that would have been if we could have got Patterson on the show for, I don't believe we could have not had him on there for as long as he would sit there, because true icon in the sport. He does everything the correct way. I mean, he's everybody's hero. And if we could have got him up there, and I think that there was a few people that didn't know where we was at, or thought maybe we didn't come or something, because they was going in and out the back door about as fast as they was going in and out the front door where we was.
Yes, when I went back and I walked through a couple of times, I didn't get to spend very much time back there, but I mean, I've seen tons of people that never came through where we were at.
Yep. And Steve had put up a video. Him and Lisa done a video where they kind of walked through there, and my gosh, it was just busy the whole day. And, you know, I had talked to Joe Lucky and Jerry Klein and Josh Mays and my buddy Jason Rath, and they done the rod stuff that they do, tangle with catfish rods. They had a booth set up and they had rods, and they had, I don't remember now if they had 2 or 3 series of their rods, and they had shirts and hats and stuff. And now remember that the show was supposed to open up down there at 9 o'clock, and enough people had been through the door that at 9 o'clock, one series of what they brought was sold out at night. But it was sold out at the time that the show was supposed to start. So that just gives you an idea how many people went through there and do this. And, you know, wow, if they get a year to prepare for the next one, what's it going to be like?
Yeah, right. Because, you know, these guys, you know, that get these product, you know, a lot of them have to get their stuff from overseas, get orders in. You know, they didn't have time to equip for something of this magnitude. They wasn't quite ready. They just had their, you know, their regular stuff on hand, you know, and just brought with them what they could.
Yep.
You know, there's going to be guys, you know, packing trailers next time.
Yeah, and that's right. And, you know, Chris Jones that was there, Catfish Pursuit Guide Service. Chris come down from around the Kansas City area. Brad Kilpatrick was there. Chris Flores from New Mexico. The boys from Arizona. Man, what a great bunch of guys them guys are. And we had a little issue with their video and audio and stuff. I don't know what happened. We was doing an interview and I moved the mic so it'd be closer because he was kind of quiet spoken, and we lost audio. And we have him scheduled to redo that on our show. We're going to do a full show with Bobby Wright, and they have it going on down in Arizona. They have 180 boat catfish tournament in Arizona. You know, we need to have them kind of people in the show. They are so conservation minded about saving those big fish and making it the way it should be. They run a professional deal, and we're going to get them on here, and we'll go back over some of the topics that we talked about because we lost out on there. And you and I sit down with one of the top guides in the world down there, Jason Bridges. What a hoot he is. I mean, he's just such a great guy and so knowledgeable, and he can talk about catfishing. He can talk about bait. He can talk about equipment. He can talk about your boat. He'll talk about anything, and yet he wants to make sure that everybody understands how important the conservation is, so we have breeding size, trophy size, whatever you'll call them, fish for future generations. And he's just so good. And we had a really good show with Jason.
Oh yeah, that was worth the whole day for me. We've been trying to get him on the show for so long, and he's always so busy, you know, with his son's football and you know, guiding. You know, last year during the spawn, we was trying to get him on, and people was even wanting to go out during the spawn. You know, they were calling him, say, "Hey, let's go fishing." He's like, "I got the month off," and they're like, "I don't care, let's go fishing." You know, so, you know, and he went to, you know, they go to the beach every year for a week or two or whatever. But, you know, finally we got him on the show. Maybe we can get a whole night of him. You know, when the spawn comes up again, he's all for it now. So,
yeah. You know, and we had a really nice interview with Brad Kilpatrick from Kansas City Catfish. Brad has got some stuff going on up there that's going to be really nice, and he's been doing that for 9 or 10 years, and I'm glad that he made the trip down from Kansas City. You know, actually, he lives in Kansas. There were some guys from Iowa that come down, Phil Brown and Josh Mays come down. They stopped and picked up Alex Nagy, and they come down and talk. They had a booth set up in the back for Twisted Cat Outdoors. And I'm not going to try to talk about everybody that was there because there is no way that I can remember them all, you know. But some of these guys traveled a really long way. A lot of them had worked all day and drove all night to get there. And they was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, friendly. Like I say, I've never been around so many catfishermen that everybody was so happy to see the other guys. It was almost like being at Monsters on the Ohio. When you pull in, everybody's, hey, how you doing, man? I ain't seen you all summer. And that's kind of the route it was down there. Everybody was glad to see each other. And, of course, we got to visit with Janet and Teresa. That was one of my favorite interviews because those two ladies are really cool people on top of being excellent fishermen, but they sure did not give out the flathead information that I was looking for.
No, you tried to get it. And yeah, she called it. She's like, you ain't getting it.
Is there any better people in the world than's in our catfishing sport anywhere in any kind of thing?
No, it was it's just unbelievable the type of people that we have. It's just so funny about how everybody can cut up at such a magnitude, and I mean it's just great. It's so fun. Everybody was was in a great mood. I didn't hear one negative thing said about anything.
Nope.
And that food trailer outside was very impressive. Everybody was just loved the food. And everybody's worried about, is there going to be something to eat there? Yeah, there was a trailer there, and they had some awesome food.
Oh, it was really, really good. And I can't think of a major supplier of rods and tackle that didn't either have a product there or a company representing them. Dave Ashby had all of his stuff that he sells, and he's got Abu Garcia and Penn and all that stuff. And he handles, I guess, nearly every kind of hook that you could have. And Ken with Fat Boys Rods was there. The boys with the Big Cat Fever rods was there. The Warrior Cat rods was there. Tangle with Catfish guys was there. We had a few of our Black Horse rods there. If you wanted to look at a fishing rod of a particular kind, it was there. If you wanted to look at something professionally made and different than what you can buy off a store, you could find it there. I mean, it was so well represented with every facet of the thing. And the seminars, you and I didn't get to see those seminars, and Steve's going to try to get them up, I understand, and put them on YouTube so we can watch them. But, doing what we do, we didn't get a chance to break away. And I know Dave Shipman and Carl Morris and Aaron Wheatley and Larry Muse, all them guys that put on these seminars and talked about different things. I want to see that stuff. I'm anxious for them to get it up so we can watch it. And I know that it was a great thing. And Dave putting on that deal about tournament live wells has got to be extremely interesting, because that's something that I feel personally we all need to pay attention to, because we got to preserve these fish. And I know Dave done a great job, and I'm real anxious to watch that and see his presentation. And, of course, Carl Morris and some of them guys, Dave Shipman, when they speak, Larry Muse, you need to be around there listening, because they're going to tell you good information, and you need to be paying attention, because if you pick up one thing from them guys, that might be what it takes to put you over the top at your next tournament.
Oh yeah. Fish Life, they tried to get a booth, and there was no more available. So he came up anyway, and he carried some of his product around, and he around lunchtime, he had already seen everything he wanted to see, but he was not going to miss the live well seminar with Dave. He hung around all that time. It was one of the last ones of the day, and he hung around just for that. And that's what he does. He's into the live well products, and they're getting into the oxygen setups and all that stuff. And he stayed that extra 3 or 4 hours to make sure that he was able to see that seminar.
You know, I want, before we get Craig on here, and I know people are wanting to get Craig on here, and I want to get him on here. I'm going to send him a link to get in the show in just a second. I got to give a shout out to a guy that we've talked about a few times, but really haven't expanded on. But our friends that come up from Arizona, Bobby Wright and them guys, they flew in here and rented them a vehicle and come down to the Catfish seminar. And Captain Scott Manning took them guys out after that conference and put them on some great fish. I've been looking at pictures posted up on Facebook all day because I've been answering messages and emails all day and returning phone calls that we missed while he's gone. And Scott actually put them guys on some outstanding fish. I know them guys had a blast. And Scott, I know you're in the chat tonight. Thank you so much for treating our fellow catfishermen the way you do. It was a professional thing that you done by taking them guys out after being in the show down at that conference all day and spending your time with them guys. I know they had a blast, and thank you for doing that. That's a trip that I'm sure them guys will remember from now on, and that's just a really cool deal that you done.
Yeah, I've been wanting to go through that and see it. I seen a couple of the pictures today, and I just hadn't had time to sit down and look through them yet. But, you know, the couple of pictures I seen, that, I mean, they had a ball.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know, we talk about this, you know, and people, I guess, think that we're full of stuff. But this is what separates the catfishing guys from most other water sports, you know. Everybody that we visit with down there, they're helpful. They're willing to help. They want to be. They want to tell you information. If you want to know it, you can go up to any one of them guys, and they're not going to give you a bunch of bull. They're going to tell you the straight stuff. They may not give you their fishing spot, but they'll tell you if they're on, you know, if they're on structure or if they're on ledges or if they're out in the main creek channel or whatever it is. And they're so helpful. You know, if you're having bait and you're asking questions about bait, they'll tell you, you know, what they look for when they're getting bait or how they're going about doing it. If you're having problems with your equipment, whether it be a boat or how it's set up, rods, reels, line, something that doesn't work for them may not work for you or may not, you know, and they'll all sit down and visit with you and try to help you out and keep everybody going. And I don't know of any other sport in the world, especially in the fishing sport, that's going to do that. I'm telling you, them guys that in them bass tournaments, they're so competitive, and we are too. But when you go to these things, and these guys are doing seminars and they're telling you secrets that took them years to learn. It's amazing, you know, it really is. And I just, while we're waiting on Craig to get in here, we had the opportunity to eat dinner with Doc and Lynn Lang and Doc's new fishing partner and his wife the other night, Friday night, and it was a fun time. Poor Lynn, she didn't get her meal quite like she wanted it, but the rest of us had a really outstanding meal. And the next night, Saturday night, we sit down with Justin Wolf and Matt Marshall and his wife Casey and Joe Lucky and his two little girls and his wife. You know, we had the greatest time. We had to wait an hour to be seated in this restaurant. And I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that Joe's daughters are like 4 and 6, and they was the best little things. They never, you know, they just happy to be there and sit down and well-behaved, well-mannered kids. I mean, I'm just so impressed with everybody in the catfish industry, and like I say, we get down there to that show, and everybody is raring to go. They want to be there, and it's just way cool. That's all there is to it. It's just way cool.
What's going on, Craig?
Not much. What's going on, Chuck?
Not a lot, man.
Right on. Hey, Lyle.
Hey, thanks for joining us, buddy. How's it going?
Good. Just sat down for a little bit. My wife's cooking supper, and figured I'd talk about some catfishing. That's what I like to do. I don't know about you all.
You know, we've been talking about catfishing most of the weekend, but I think we got another night in us.
Yeah, I sure would have liked to make it down there. You know, with the baby on the way and everything, it's pretty busy around here.
I know that it is, but you know, if things settle down and get lined out next year, a bunch of us Missouri boys can all gang up and take us a road trip down there. Probably take several vehicles, but we can all follow one another and go down there and let them know what Missouri fishing's all about.
Well, we tend to do that at about every tournament. We try to all make it. There's a bunch of us down there at Wheeler, several.
Yeah, you know, that's right. We go down to visit with Daniel for the Winter Blues on Wheeler, and there's a lot. Missouri's well represented when we get there.
Yes, sir. And I absolutely love it down there in Alabama. I lived in Mississippi for quite a while, and I did never fish Wheeler Lake. I fished Pickwick a lot, but I sure wish I'd have known about it because I'd have been on it all the time.
Absolutely, you know, and there's I hate it that they're having that gill net issue going on down there, because if they're not careful, they're going to lose one of the great blue cat fisheries there is in the United States, and there's no reason for that. Them guys really need to get on that and get it shut down before it gets too bad. But that is, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think that there's more big fish caught there than there is anywhere in the world, but I do believe that there's more big fish caught consistently there.
I'd say that is a very good point you made there. There's a lot of big fish everywhere, but it sure seems like they get caught a lot more often down there.
You know, they do. And when I'm talking about big fish, I'm talking 50 plus.
Yeah.
They get some 100-pounders down there and get a lot of them in the 70, 80, 90 range, but it's consistently. They catch them down there a lot, and that's just really cool deal that they got going on down there. And if they can keep it maintained, and these other states that are wondering why people are traveling to Alabama and out there where Zach Royce is and those lakes that he fished, if they wonder why that people are driving them distances, folks, it's because you don't put the regulations in effect. You pass the buck on, and you're fooling around and dragging your feet about getting that sun. And I'm talking about the MDC now. You boys know I'm talking about you. But you get them regulations passed, and you'll have that kind of participation in our state and every other state that gets it done.
I talked to an MDC agent about a year and a half ago, and I asked him about that. And I talked about Alabama and other places. He seemed oblivious to it, and he goes, well, why would we want to do that? There's plenty of fish in the Missouri River. And I said, but you don't understand that, there's people that trot line, and which I'm not against it at all. I mean, people go out with their family. I did it when I was a kid.
Sure,
but,
me too.
That's how we learned. That's how we got started. And but I do believe that those bigger fish need to be released, and he just didn't see it that way. He was totally against it.
Well, right there is part of the problem. The guy works for the Missouri Department of Conservation, and he is part of the problem and not part of the solution. He needs to get on board and pay attention to what's going on, because if all these places around here that are mad because they don't have any customers in the winter time or the fall or the spring because the fishing's not that good, because they're not catching big fish, well, it's because you don't get those regulations put in effect. Because I promise you, Jason Bridges, Mike Mitchell, them guys, you wait in line to get a trip with them. Them blues are caught year-round. Those guys, when it's cold and nasty out, they're guiding every day, while the rest of them are sitting around here wondering why they ain't making no money.
Exactly.
Well, it's because there's not a consistent number of big fish. You put big fish in any lake or any body of water, and people are going to come get them. And when they come to fish for them to catch and release, keep your 2 over 34 if you want to, but don't keep any more than that. These places will thrive. I never seen the amount of people stack in motels as they do around Wheeler Lake.
Everything.
Yep, that's correct. They need to plant their feet real firmly, do a reach around, and snatch their head out of their butt and see what they're missing out on, and make these regulations happen. Every state that don't have them needs to get it done, and that dragging your feet and not getting it done is all it's doing is costing money for out-of-state license. It's costing money for the gas stations, the motels, the guys, everything. It's just the way it is. You guys need to wake up and get it done. Chuck, Have you got some stuff for Craig tonight?
Yeah. Did y'all see that the results on the Cabela's Tekawani tournament Saturday?
I did not.
I've been wanting to call Justin Cook, and I haven't got around to it yet because I think he's won it the past 2 years in a row, so this is news to me. I haven't heard results.
You know, them guys from Kansas, you know, I was talking to Brad Kilpatrick yesterday, and I said, well, you know, some of your guys came down there again and, you know, did it. And he says, you know, these guys that fish the Missouri River, they just go down there and eat that lake up. I mean, that's just nothing to them. That's like a farm pond. You know, and we was talking about that Saturday about, you know, how rough the Missouri River is. You know, it's untamed. It's, you know, it's got so much current. You know, and these guys get to these places where they can really go out and, you know, and search for fish and do stuff like that. You know, these guys do really good. I can't remember Kevin Parks. I can't remember who his partner was, but they won it Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, them guys from Kansas, they just seem to go down there and, you know, dominate it, you know, year after year. I think that the past few years, I think somebody from Kansas or Missouri has, you know, went down there and won it.
Yeah, I think Justin Cook and Gary Ryan last year won it, and then the year before that, Justin Cook and Roger Gerloff won it.
Yeah.
And but the guys from Kansas, I think, were right behind them. It wasn't by much, you know. I mean, Justin Cook is a very good fisherman. I mean, he's very, very good. That guy, yeah, I don't know if he's just lucky, but he's good. That's for sure. He's lucky enough it makes him good.
Well, he can jump in a mud hole where there ain't but 6 inches of water and be 3-inch diameter and catch a 40-pound fish. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, that is no joke.
Yeah, you know, I follow most all these guys, and you know, it don't matter what part of the country one of these tournaments are in. You know, I always scan up and down the leaderboard and you know, see how everybody did, and you know, see who, you know, had a bad day. You know, it just seems like the local guys, I don't know if they got the honey hole syndrome or you know, the home lake curse or what, but you know, those guys that seem like it live around that lake, you know, when it's tournament day, they just can't get it done.
Apparently, I just got a message and it said Cook got second. I don't know with what weight, but that's what I was just told. So somebody's paying attention.
Yeah, Justin Cook and Gary Ryan, they came in second place by 0.2 pounds.
It's probably a good thing I didn't call.
Yeah, Kevin Parks and Terry Fincher came in first.
Oh.
Robert Stanley and Clyde Stanley came in fourth.
Mm.
You know, so them guys are, you know, going down there year after year and they're getting it done.
Robert Stanley put some giant fish in the boat now.
Oh yeah. So you know, only 15 boats wade fish in. So you know it's you know them guys that fish that you know, most of them guys do fish the Kansas City Cats Trail, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, just that's probably one of the most competitive trails in the country.
You know, not to interrupt your part of this here, Chuck, but Craig, I have to think that in the central Missouri, and it doesn't really matter, Kansas City across to St. Louis, if you could come up here and put a licking on these guys that we got, you can compete with anybody in the United States.
I can agree with that. There's probably I could count on my fingers and toes and still not have enough room to count all the fishermen that are really good in this area. There are some top-notch cat fishermen in this area.
There is, and you know, we had done some Calcuttas at some of them tournaments, and a lot of times I would buy them or try to buy some of the guys. I didn't have a big enough pocket to buy them all, because one of them guys is going to get the money, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, they're going to be right there at it most of the time. I mean, there's definitely some great fishermen in it. And for a guy starting out, it can be pretty discouraging. I've seen it several times. And the best part about me is I was around most of those guys when I started, and you learn a lot from them. They don't give you they don't just tell you everything, but you watch, you learn.
That's right.
What's that, Lyle?
That's exactly right. And, we was talking about all them boys, and I'm going to tell you right now, Marty and Roger Gerloff, if they're in a tournament, they are a contender.
Yes, they are.
Justin Cook and all them guys, they're contenders too. But when them Gerloff boys show up, but their plan is to take your money with them when they go home.
They want to do that, that's for sure. I don't know that there's anybody that wants to do it more. I really don't.
No, and everybody that we've talked about are outstanding people. They're friendly, they're nice, they're helpful to people that don't have the correct information. They'll sit down and visit with you, and just good all-around guys. And we're talking with the circles with Brent Riddle and Ken Cargill, all them guys. It's just not two or three. You can't name them all because you can't remember them all.
There's
John Jameson, he's in that group.
He is. There is a ton of catfishermen around here that are great guys. They really are.
That's fact.
I mean, the meeting spot has always been Tombstone Tackle. There with Adam. I mean, those guys up there, you can go up there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're usually playing cards or something, and you have to wear your muck boots when you go in there because you know how deep it's going to be.
I do, as a matter of fact. I go in there and see Adam quite often.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah, so we was talking to Brad Saturday about the Mississippi River Monster Tournament. It's only 7 hours from Kansas City, so there's going to be a slew of them guys hitting that Mississippi River. And no telling how many guys are coming from the East Coast because they're going to have about the same drive. And this is going to be one of the most centralized, biggest tournaments. The Monster in Ohio is big. But don't have the quality of the river the Mississippi's got. And them Kansas City guys, they're used to that Missouri, which, it's got similar current and stuff like that as the Mississippi. I think this is going to be one of the biggest throwdowns ever, competition-wise. The payday is going to be big. And there's going to be some great competition, and it's going to be really exciting watching this tournament form, and up till the weigh-in's finished, it's going to be a nail-biter.
I would say you're correct. There's a lot of people going to that tournament, a bunch, and I hope to be there too. That's going to be a very big tournament. There'll be a lot of people. I'm curious to just see how many boats show up. I mean, there's no telling how many people will show up. It's going to be huge. You won't be able to find a hotel room. If you ain't got your hotel room right now, you may be driving 50 miles. I mean, it's going to be packed.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be, I see people being there for, taking vacation around this, been there for at least a week. Some guys maybe, 3 or 4 days, but that's probably going to be the minimum. I mean, this is going to be probably one of the biggest events for an economy, I believe, ever in catfishing, because I think, Memphis, they've got everything they need to accommodate, as many as that can be brought. So I see a lot of money being spent, and I see next year being a lot bigger. It's going to be because George Young Jr.'s got some stuff to prove, and after he proves it this year, there's guys waiting to sign on. They don't want to sign this year. They want to see what he's going to be able to do. But money wise, I think next year will probably be a whole lot bigger, and that's really going to, bring the competition, because there's going to be a purse there that everybody's going to want a piece of. So, who you plan on fishing it with if you're able to go this year?
I would say my dad, Brad Shoemate, will probably be who I'm fishing with most of the year this year. He just purchased a brand new Sea Arc. It's a 24-footer, and he's pretty excited about it. I think he's getting it tomorrow. He's going to pick it up at noon. So I think we plan on fishing the Sea Arc tournament and that tournament there, and definitely the Brunswick tournament that Brad's putting on. I think it's August the 6th. It's at $10,000 right now, and it's only February, so there's no telling how big that tournament will be. I mean, that's always a really good tournament.
Did they ever get a number on how many entries they have in that now?
I have not talked to Brad. I talked to him a little bit, but I did not ask him about that. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was last year, but it was. I'm sure it was over 100 last year.
Yeah, and the year before it was giant too.
Yes, it was. I believe it was over 100 then too. I know the prize last year was 8,000. I believe is what it was.
And it's way over that now, right?
Yeah, it's way over that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great event, and these guys from out of state and stuff. I know some of them are a little skeptical about that Mississippi River or the Missouri River, but it's not that you can't fish that river. It's not that you can't travel it during the night or anything. You just have to watch what you're doing, but you got to do that any place you go.
Yes, you do. That's absolutely true. It's the river can be very humbling. It can be dangerous. You definitely have to pay attention, and but I've never. The biggest thing is high water. Most of the time, when the water's low, you can see the dikes, but there's a fringe there where the dikes are just under the water. But most of the time, I mean, nowadays everybody has the technology that shows them where the dikes are, and I'm telling you, my Navionics card is spot on. There's only a few places on the river, and I've been from up past St. Joe all the way to St. Louis. I've been on every mile of the river, and it's pretty well spot on the dikes. I can just about drive right to it. If it's underwater, go around it, whatever I need to do. It's not as bad as everybody thinks.
No, it's not. But you need to bring your big anchor and plan on there being current, because and I've talked about this before, and I'm not really trying to dwell on it, but when people talk about their rivers and their waterways having lots of current, most of them have never seen current like we have.
No.
And you need a good anchor to hold you, and it can be done. It's not impossible, and I won't probably be drifting or anything like that in a night tournament. I might early,
Right.
when the stuff is, but bring your good stuff, and they catch a lot of 60-plus pounders over in that area. I mean, a lot of them.
There's been a lot caught here in the past few weeks. I mean, there's guys throwing fish back, and the fish that I caught in that tournament last weekend, it had been hooked. Somebody'd throw it back. It still had you could see it was swell up right there where you could see where it was hooked. And, the fish are growing because the guys are throwing it back. There's a lot of big fish caught on the Missouri River.
And that stems from them stopping commercial fishing on that river.
That is absolutely correct.
Sorry to cut you off, Chuck.
So these tournaments that you and your dad have planned, which one are you the most excited and looking forward to the most?
Sea Arc tournament. That's what I'm excited about. Because that is prime time to fish that lake right there. Prime time.
Oh yeah, man, that's going to be some that's going to be some really good competition too. And from all the guys I talk to that go and fish it, everybody has a really good time.
Oh, I can't wait. This will be the first one I've got to fish. I've always wanted to fish it and never really, had an opportunity to. And I'll be we're going to have a great time.
Yeah, I wish they would just open it up to guys that didn't have. The other boat companies, they could jump on board and do stuff similar, but nobody's uh, doing it as much for catfishing right now as Sea Arc is. There's some other boat companies jumping on board, helping other trails. The Lunds, helping Kansas City Cats out huge. You know, beyond, with the stuff they've been doing, and it's going to be hard for anybody to just jump in and hands down, you know, outdo them. There's no way.
Oh no, it would be definitely hard. There's people out there with the money to do it, but I mean the sport's growing. 5 more years, no telling where it'll be at. I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, but there's so many Sea Arcs out there. I don't think any other boat company could actually hold a tournament and just invite the boat owners for that manufacturer and have the turnout that Sea Arc has.
Yeah, I believe that there is a lot of Sea Arcs. So they're a great boat. I mean, a great boat.
Yeah, I mean that they were the first one to really cater to the catfishermen, and they're still doing a great job doing it. Other boat companies are trying to jump out there and compete with them, and they are taking some sales from them, but people still right there in line. Sea Arc being on back ordered most of the time with a lot of their different boats. You can still find a bunch of them at the dealership, but if you want something a little bit special, it's going to take you a while to get it. That's how many boats that they're turning out of that place.
Yes, sir. I know of another guy who he ordered one earlier too, and he had to wait about a month, I think it was, to get his. But there's a lot around here that have Sea Arc, and they really like them.
Oh yeah. So your favorite body of water to fish, within a few hours of your house, the Missouri River?
It's hands down Missouri River.
Do you go and fish those Lake of the Ozarks and those lakes over in there also?
Oh yeah, I went to the Lake of the Ozarks this weekend.
Oh, did you? How do
Yeah,
you like those lakes?
I like them. They're there's a lot of catfish in those lakes. There's a lot of catfish, and you may go down there and catch 20 to 30 fish, in a day easily. They have the slot limit in effect right now. I believe it's 26 to 34, and it seems to be working. We caught a lot of fish in the slot. I think we had 10 in the slot. We caught 20. Lost numerous at the boat, small fish. We didn't catch any big fish, but the slot limit down there is definitely helping. And I recommend anybody who's starting to catfish to try that body of water, because it's a great fishery, and within a few years with the slot limit they have now, it's going to get a lot better.
So that's a good place if you're just starting out to get out there and try different techniques, start catching fish, and really getting motivated and liking and getting to where you want to get out there and compete with the other guys.
Yes, I do believe that. If a lot of springtime is probably one of the best times to go. This year the winter has been rather mild, so the fish we were catching fish in 16 foot of water, and it's February. I mean, normally you're fishing, 60 foot, and it's a lot different right now than when it normally is, but there's fish everywhere. I mean, it was constant. You set up a place, your rods are going down. It's like fishing a farm pond that was way overpopulated. There's a lot of small fish down there, but if you want to get, into it, that would be my best recommendation, is to go down there and have a blast, take the kids, whatever you need to do. But if you're wanting to start catfishing, that's a good place to go.
So these guys that's wanting to get out there and do that, what kind of baits you recommend them to go out there and to have with them when they go try?
Fresh shad is probably the best you can have out there, and it's all over that lake. It is absolutely everywhere. We probably caught 300, 7 to 10 inch shad in 3 throws last night. It's not always like that. They're there, but they're harder to find. Different weather conditions push them different places.
And so those guys that are going and paying that high price for skipjack out in that area, you would rather go out and use skipjack in those areas hands down than going and paying that high price for skipjack and using those?
I would rather use shad, yes, on the Lake of the Ozarks. Now, I do know that there's skipjack around there. There is skipjack in that water, and those fish will bite on skipjack. But as as available as the shad is, I mean, I believe on that body of water, 90% of the year, that's going to be your best bait to use.
Great. And what about on the Missouri River? Is there skipjack up in the Missouri?
Oh yeah, there's probably more so towards farther north you go, and then towards St. Louis, there's probably more skipjack there. Now they're here. It seems like there's more moon eye probably, or gold eye, whatever you want to call it, around this area than anything. But I've caught a lot of fish on skipjack, during the summertime around here, and that seems to be the best time to use it. There's people that catch fish on skipjack all year round, but for me, skipjack during the summer, maybe late spring, but shad, live shad or shad most other times, wintertime especially.
Well, I've talked to a bunch of guys up on the, on parts of the Ohio River that, that fish with skipjack and moon eye, and a lot of them say they prefer moon eye over skipjack, even though there is skipjack in that water. That they'll win a tournament on moon eye, and they'll go out there after moon eye day after day just to get enough to fish one day. That's how much they believe in it.
I believe that too. I've probably caught more moon eye than I have shad on this stretch of river here next to me, and some big ones, and they work really good. I mean, they're good bait, but sometimes they're hard to catch. Anymore it seems the Asian carp are pretty well taken over. The bait's still there. I mean, I see it on the sonar. It's just catching it's tough. There's places to go on the river to catch it, but that moon eye is pretty good stuff. If you get some moon eye, you better hang on to it and not tell anybody about it, because somebody's going to want it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, man. I've never been able to use it, and next time I go up to Owensboro, I'm gonna try to target some and use some of that. And taking over. Are a lot of the guys, turning to it since it's so available and doing really well on it?
Well, a lot of guys do use Asian carp. Most of the time, I don't like to use it until the water gets hot. I mean, it's got to be hot. Now, this previous year, the water was pretty high, and I didn't catch a whole lot of fish on Asian carp. The year before, I caught several fish on Asian carp. I didn't hardly have to throw any skipjack. I mean, the fish I caught was on Asian carp. I caught 2 in the 80s, and they both come on Asian carp. And I didn't have, we caught a lot of fish the year prior, and most of it come off Asian carp during the summer. But it's, some guys are using it during the winter. I don't know if it was this year, Lyle, or if it was the year before. The guy caught a 90-some pounder. I think it wasn't very far from here, Herman, or somewhere around in that area.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you, Craig. The hotter the water gets, the better I like it. But I know even some of the guides have told me that there's so much Asian carp in the water now, if they can get them small enough. Of course, you can't keep them live. You got to kill them. But they're using that stuff year-round now for bait when the bait gets really hard to find, because Asian carp is never hard to find.
No, it isn't. That's for sure.
It's got to be used for something, instead of just taking over.
They're selling it at Gerb's now. I think it's Gerb's there in Columbia. They're selling carp.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
All right, Craig, I'm going to turn you over to Lyle. I'm sure he's got a few things for you. And
Okay.
it's been great talking to you, and I'm glad I got a chance to have you on the show and pick your brain a little bit.
Heck yeah, Chuck. We'll be seeing you again shortly, I'm sure, somewhere.
I know that's right.
Craig, before we get started with the fishing stuff, you're about to become a new dad. How's all that working out and going good?
It's working great. I don't know, maybe I can turn the camera here and you can kind of see I've kind of got some of her stuff set up in here.
This is an exciting time for you.
Yeah, I've got a changing table I'm getting ready to put together after we get off after I get off of here tonight, and it just come in today. But I'm super excited, man. This will be my first child. Actually, well, I have 3 here, but they're not mine. But I treat them like they're mine, and I love them like they're mine. But I'm just really excited.
Well, for some reason, Nikki and us, we haven't got to meet up and visit and stuff, but we're so happy for you guys, and I know that you're really excited about this, and we're looking forward to the next little Shoemate catfisherman to come around.
I can't wait either. It's going to be awesome. I know when we fished together there at the Lake of the Ozarks here not a few weeks ago, that's the majority of what we talked about during the day, and she really wants to meet you guys too, and she's a great woman, and she takes care of me anyhow, and I'm a lot to put up with most of the time. So, she's a great woman, and I can't wait.
You just mentioned that we was up to Lake of the Ozarks. You and I and Cindy went up there for an afternoon. We was there quite a bit of the day, and that particular day there was an abundance of shad readily available, easy to get. Now I know it's not like that every day, but we would go over a bait ball, and on our sonar, it just wasn't a small ball of bait like so many people show when they show pictures. And I've got this videotaped, but we're waiting to put together a bunch of stuff to make it nice. But those balls was 6 to 8 foot diameter.
Oh yeah.
And I was amazed at the amount of shad, and these was big shad.
Yeah, they were big shad.
They would stretch nearly across the top of a 5-gallon bucket. I mean, it was great bait, and there was it was everywhere we went.
That's why there wasn't any fish.
That's true. My question is, when that bait is hard to find, where do you think it goes? I mean, it doesn't just disappear and then come back later.
No, a lot of it, I think it depends, and this is my opinion. Like, a lot of it depends on what the water temperature is. A lot of times this year I've seen 41, 42 degree water temperature, and if the sun's shining, guys can't find a bait, and they can't find it nowhere. Well, the only place you haven't looked is in 6 inches of water. And that's normally where they'll be at. I mean, they're going to be where it's warm. And 6 inches of water, sun shining on your back, it's going to be warm instead of 15 or 20. Because I can tell you, I got in the water, let's see, what was it, last weekend, and trying to fix my boat, and 4 feet down, it was freezing cold. The top of it may have been warm, but it was cold at the bottom.
I know you told me that you had boat problems.
Yeah. Seems like a never-ending story, but they're working on it. I talked to them today, but yeah, and then like that particular day, those, I bet I would almost be willing to bet anything I had. By the end of the day, that bait was probably back up farther in that cove in shallower water. They were close to the surface then, and then they were scattering out towards the back of that cove, so that's what they were doing. They just kept moving up into the back of that cove.
Right. Yeah, we had a really fun day that day. The fishing wasn't all that good, but we had a real enjoyable time out on the water, and And that is exactly why you go out in them winter days when the sun's shining. It was nice and warm. You know, shoot, I'm not even sure I had a jacket on that day. It was just really good, and I was impressed with the amount of bait that we found. And I know that you and I had talked since then, and you'd been up there, and the bait was a little harder to find. And I didn't know if they went that deep and was hard to come by, or if they was up shallow or just where you thought they went. But that's some good information for people that's wanting to know different things. You know, that's how they learn to find them, is if you're there one day and they're 4 or 5 foot below the surface in big balls, and the next day you can't find them, you need to go up to the banks and the backs of those coves. You don't want to go in there so tight that you get your boat stuck. But those fish a lot of times will be in weed lines and stuff like that, and that's where you need to look and try to check to get your bait.
That is correct. When they go shallow like that, they will scatter, and sometimes it's pretty. In my boat, it's hard to get to those spots. I mean, you know, when me and John were catching bait last weekend, they were in 6 inches of water, and I'm throwing the cast net as far as I could, and you know, I could see them. You know, that's how shallow they were, and it's tough sometimes, but they're there. You know, that bait's there somewhere. It don't disappear. You know, they might move out to the river channel for some reason when it gets hot. You know, they may be a little deeper, but most of the time, if you can't find them in deeper water, they're going to be shallow. I mean, go extreme, get up in there and get shallow, and that's a lot of times that's where they'll be at. And it'll surprise you how cool it can be, the water temperature, and those fish will be shallow.
Right, and they love sunshine. You know, if that sun's shining and it's warmed up a spot, they'll be in that spot. You know, and most of the time that's not going to be in very deep water, because the shallower it is, of course, the faster it warms up. Let's talk about the Missouri River a little bit.
All right.
You know, I'm a river guy. I don't like fishing lakes. I mean, we have to learn to do it because we go to so much stuff and do. But I love current. You don't have to use but one anchor and mess around with all that stuff. And usually there's an abundance of fish to be found, and there's a lot more structure. And I think structure is one of the reasons that I appreciate the rivers more than the lakes. But the Missouri River is loaded with wing dikes.
Oh, yeah.
And people go in behind there thinking that that's where them fish are, and sometimes they are in there. One thing that guys that come to fish the Missouri or the Mississippi River is they have to understand, when you go behind those dikes looking for fish, you have to be extremely careful, because there's always a load of big heads in there, and they will knock you out of the boat and put you in the water. I know that certain wing dikes hold more fish either through the blowholes or off to the side of them than others. You may go up through there and you may run up and check out 10 or 15 wing dikes, and only 1 or 2 of them will actually be holding a bunch of catfish. Do you have any idea why that would be?
A lot of it, I think, has to do with current. You know, if what I call a box dike, it's one to come out from the bank and they go back down the river channel. That's what I call a box dike. They hold a lot of fish, all kinds of different species. Some are very different than the others. There's a huge difference. You will find some that are directly in the channel. Those are the ones that are going to be your best bet. You'll find some that are on the channel swing. There's different times to fish all of them. Not all of them are going to produce. I mean, you know, it's just like going to the lake. Some days you may not catch anything. The box dikes in the channel, I believe, hold more fish because the channel is right there. I mean, they can get in the channel, they can move. That's where those fish like to be. They got structure, they can get in the channel, they can move up the box dikes, and then they can meander out on the flats. But I don't know. The deeper holes usually hold more fish around that area. They may not be, you know, the ones that are in the holes a lot of times aren't that active. But the ones with the deeper holes, access to the channel, a lot of water out on the end of the tip of the dike, are the ones that generally will hold more fish than the others. If you pull up there and you've got 12 foot of water, and then you've got 6 feet in between the dike and the hump that's inside the box dike, I mean, you might as well just turn around and go back out. I mean, in my opinion, from what I've found.
Well, here's a question that I have for you then. You know, we fish a lot of dikes and stuff, and you and I and Cindy fished a tournament last year down in St. Louis, and we get in behind, like in them box dikes like you're talking about. I think, this is what I'm thinking, a lot of times when you're on the outside of those dikes, it drops off into the channel, and you have a lot of current, and blues love current.
Yes, they do.
I think that a lot of times they go up in the slack water behind those dikes to rest from fighting that current, and then they go back to feed in the drop-off water where the swift current is, and they stay down there until they either have all they want to eat or till they get tired, and then they go back up in there and rest behind the dikes. What do you think about that?
I believe that's an accurate statement. Depends a lot of time on what time of year it is. Like wintertime, those fish, I mean, they'll be in the current, but most of the time, yeah, I know people who catch them in the current, but most of the fish that I've ever caught, they're usually in the second, what I call a secondary hole. It's the one inside the dike, the tip of the dike. You know, there'll be a hole in the very back of the dike, and then there'll be a hole right there off to the left or to the right of the tip of the dike, and that's where I think they generally hold. They stage in one hole, and then they move to another hole, and there's bait all in there. You know, it's everywhere. But during the springtime, and even late fall, I believe that's true what you just said. But a lot of times those fish are on the flats, and people don't even try them. They're on the flats. They're chasing bait. You know, 5, 6 foot of water. You know, all the time.
You know, if the shad or whatever kind of bait fish it is that's in the water that you're fishing, if that sun's out and they go up to a bank of some kind, whether it be a sandbar or gravel bar or whatever, and it's in slack water behind that bait, and like you're talking about, if it's 10, 12, 14 foot, 6, 5, whatever the case may be, if they're up in there in that warm water, them blues especially and channel cat are going to be up in there waiting for one to drop off where they can drill him. Yes, they are.
There's a lot of fish in that river, and there's been days where I've thought there wasn't any in it. But fish in that river. You know, I've been pretty fortunate. I've caught some great fish out of it, and I absolutely love to fish that place over. When the conditions are right, it's better than anywhere. I mean, it is a great place to fish, and it's beautiful. I mean, you go out and see 5, 6 bald eagles every time you go out. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful place to go. I mean, and it's a great fishery. It could be a whole lot better, but it's great. It's a great fish.
Here's something that a lot of people do not know, especially people that do not fish the Missouri River a lot. The Missouri River has hardly any barge traffic on it. Now, Mississippi, the Ohio, all them rivers, they are loaded with barges all the time, running up and down through there, locking through the dikes. Down St. Louis, you know how that is. They're just in there thicker than thieves. The Missouri River really doesn't have hardly any barge traffic. And I'm not saying you go out there and you won't see a barge, because you're liable to, but it's not like most of the other big rivers. There's just not as much barge traffic on it, and that in itself makes it a safer place to fish, I believe.
Yes, it does. I've maybe seen 1 or 2 at night. Now, I did see one when we were fishing that tournament last Saturday. There was one, but they're nowhere near the size of the barges on the Mississippi River. Those are gigantic. You know, they're huge. But these barges here, they're, you know, and they'll give you right away. They're not, you know, I mean, of course they have a smaller channel to navigate, but you know, they're not everywhere. You know, it's not near as bad as the Mississippi River.
I agree. Ray is in our chat and would like to know how your river tactics differ than your lake tactics.
Not much. To be quite honest with you, when I go like to Wheeler Lake, I take all the water out of it, and especially in the winter months and probably even during the spring months, I mean, it's a river. You know, I try to use the knowledge that I've learned from the river, because those blues are they're the same just about everywhere you go. They just have different structure to follow. And I'm a big structure fisherman. You know, if it's a ledge or, you know, a rock or you know, even a hump, it's really not that much difference. I stick to structure and depth. I mean, besides current, you know, that relates to it some, but I'm always fishing structure.
Well, the Missouri River has a lot of structure. It probably has more dikes and stuff on it than any place that I've ever been. You know, Lake of the Ozark, it has some structure, but it is a lake, and it gets high, but it doesn't have the fast current when it raises and goes out like the rivers do. And what's in there, when you find structure, usually it'll always have fish on it. But the river changes so much that they have to go. You have to go out every time that a flood situation comes in. You have to go out and find the structure, and maybe it'll still be there, but chances are it's changed.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. But my definition of structure, the way I look at it, is anything that changes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tree or, you know, something you know, it could be as small as a 1 foot difference in the bottom. I mean, that small of a change will hold fish. You know, that's what I mean by structure. It's not something that you physically have to look at like a tree stump or a great big rock or a boulder. I mean, any ledge, you know, anything like it. If you see a 1 foot drop off or even a rise, and say there's some bait and you got some fish hugging the bottom right there at that 1 foot hump right there, we'll fish it, because those are fish, you know. And I don't see. That's my definition of structure.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you nearly 100%. And depth changes, little humps and ripples. There's any number of things that fish will relate to, and that's you got to use all that stuff to your advantage. Craig, tell us about your boat and the equipment that you use to find these fish, your depth finder and stuff, and how you set up to locate fish when you're going out. I mean, on the river, basically every time you go out, it's a different situation.
That is correct. I run a Lowrance Gen 2 12, and I absolutely love it. I mean, it's by far. I used to run a Humminbird 1198, and it was a great fish finder. But if you're a person who likes to really fine tune your depth finder, you can't beat a Lowrance. I mean, I love the picture quality. The 2D sonar is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I'd recommend it to anybody. They're great fish finders, and there's nothing wrong with the Humminbirds, but I just prefer, since running both of them, I would much rather have the Lowrance. Reels, I run Abu Garcia 7000s Pro Rockets. As rods, of course, I run your rods. I absolutely love those rods, and I do have some surge rods. I run 80-pound braid. Let's see, it's a tough line, and then I run P-line. P-line is probably my favorite mono. I've caught a lot of big fish off of that mono. That's my favorite. My boat, it's a 2014 Tractor Targa, 19 foot with a 150. I had custom rod rack made and live well. I think it's a 70-gallon live well. Gary Ryan, he made all that stuff. The guy that fishes with Justin Cook, he's an excellent machinist, and he can weld. I mean, I can weld, but that guy can weld anything. I mean, he's very meticulous and very anal about what he does. It's going to be right. If he wouldn't have it, nobody else will. You know, he's very good. But other than that, I mean, I would say the most critical part is keeping your fish alive, and you got to have a good live well to do that with. I mean, you do, and it doesn't matter how much it costs or whatever. That's the most important part, I think. If you're going to tournament fish or try to, keep some fish, you need a great live well.
I agree, and for guys starting out, that's probably as good advice as they can be given, is what you just said. When you get your boat, make sure that you have a live well big enough to accommodate the type of fish that you're going to be catching, whether it be channel cat or 100-pound blues. Make sure that it will hold the fish, and that it has the aeration and circulation, and be able to change water in and out, and if you do filters and whatever, and make sure that you can keep the fish alive. Even if you're not a tournament fisherman and you want to catch them and revive them before you release them in the water, maybe take some pictures and stuff. We put nearly every fish in the live well, because when we take them out, they're in better shape after fighting, being caught. They rest up a little bit, and then we release them, and we know that they're probably going to be fine. In fact, we know they are going to be fine, because they'll just beat you to death by the time you get them to the water, and that's how you know that them fish are in good shape. So I'm a big proponent of letting them rest up in the live well, but you have to have a live well that's capable of doing it. Don't put too many fish in there where they're going to struggle for oxygen, because that's what happens. So many of the live wells aren't big enough, and there's not enough oxygen, and they start getting in trouble. But if you take care of those fish before you release them or before you weigh in, that's about as good of advice for people starting out as I know of.
Get out there and have a good time. That's the biggest part.
I think that's something else. And Chris used to be on the show with us all the time, and he used to preach that to me. And I knew what he was trying to get through, but sometimes you just can't make it happen. He used to tell me all the time, you need to just go out and go fishing, because a lot of times the only fishing we do is either pre-fishing a tournament or in a tournament. And he said, you just need to go out and spend the day fishing for fun. And sometimes we get to do that, and sometimes we don't. And that's like the deal with you and Cindy and I went out on the lake the other day. I haven't had that much fun in a long time. We really had a blast.
It was a good time, And last year, I didn't fish as many tournaments as I did the year before, and I went out and fished and had fun. Me and Nikki caught some great fish last year. I mean, some great fish. In the spring, and we had a good time, and I really enjoyed that. And this year is going to be, it's going to get a little more difficult once Macy gets here. But she told me I can still go out, and I'll get my one trip a month or whatever. But
I can't wait to meet her. I know she's a real sweet lady, and we follow her post on Facebook and see the pictures of the boys and their football stuff, and I told some people that over the weekend, and they say there's no way you can watch all that, and I don't see all of it. I have so many people that follow Chuck and I on Facebook that I can't see all of it. But when I'm going through that stuff, when I see them kids and their football stuff, I stop and take a look at that. When I see Joe Lucky's girls in there and their ballerina stuff and the pictures that Janelle has taken, I stop and look at that. Those kids are the most important resource that this world has got, and we all need to pay attention to that and make sure that they're headed down the correct path. And I know those boys and Nickies them guys, they love their football, and there ain't nothing better for a boy than getting out there and rowdying around with a bunch of other guys. And them guys are tough. I can see that they're just itching to get back out there and go again.
Yeah, Trey, he's ready, boy. I tell you what, he's a good football player too, and he's definitely ready to go.
Yep, that's exactly right. Bobby Vargas just put us a note in here that his best fish are caught on tournament days, but that don't enter the tournament. That's kind of like Brent Riddle. Brent and I was talking, I don't know, it's some time ago, and Brent says, man, I'm catching great fish before the tournament day. I'm not finding them. He said, I find them, but they don't bite. And that's happened to a lot of people. They'll get out there and they'll find them fish, and then tournament day they're still finding fish, but they've shut down. And sometimes it's from weather conditions, and sometimes I think they just fill up.
I do too. Yeah, don't let it discourage you. Definitely. If you're catching them on tournament day, and you need to be entering the tournament,
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Bobby's fished some tournaments. Don't let him fool you. Yeah, him and his dad used to fish a lot together. And Bobby lives out there on that Potomac River, and he knows how to get it. He fishes the Potomac and the James, and he knows how to get them fish in the boat. We seen him at the Catfish Conference, and it was so good to see him. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and he puts fish in the boat, and he's as tough on tournament days as the next guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
We're running about an hour 15 on this show, Craig. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on Catfish Weekly with us. If you got people that you'd like to thank or anybody that you'd like to talk about, if you want to tell us some more about Macy and Nikki, that's fine. But I'll give you some time to do all that before we wind her up for the evening.
I think I've talked about everybody quite a bit. My main thing that I wanted to share with everybody is when you do fish tournaments and you meet other people that are in the catfishing world, be sure to show respect to those people and present yourself in a manner that that you're respectful, because that reflects a lot on your personality and your image. Some people don't care, but I'm one of those people that I care. I treat people like I want to be treated when I'm out there, and if you're wanting to get anywhere in this industry, that's the type of attitude you need to have, because you go to tournament and somebody irritates you, you need to let it go and just go have a good time. And most people I know, they do, and that's what this sport's all about, and that's what's going to help them make it grow.
That is 100% correct statement, and we have some of the finest people in the whole world that is in catfishing. I believe that with my heart. Every event we go to, whether it be the Catfish Conference or whether it be one of the tournaments down in Alabama or Monsters on the Ohio or wherever it is, we see people and we just have so much fun doing that. But the respect factor, it works both ways. If you give the next guy the respect that you should give him, he will return it, and you'll make a friend for life. And when you see him at the next tournament, they'll be the first one to come up and shake your hand, and that is what makes our sport so great.
Yes, it is. It really is. And I mean, one more thing, take those kids fishing. I love to see that. That's my favorite thing to see is some little girl today that a friend of mine down in Mississippi, they took her catfishing and she caught her first catfish, and it's awesome to see kids still getting out there, and with all this technology and everything anymore, they don't get out there like they should, but it's great to see parents doing that.
Oh, I agree 100%, and we've talked about this a number of times, but the youth is the lifeblood of our sport, and not just catfishing, it's any sport. And we need to make sure that we keep the interest up for these guys so that they can carry on after the rest of us are gone and make this happen. Now, another thing, and you know as well as Chuck does, one of the things that I really try to push on, and I try not to shove down people's throat, but guys, take your wife and your girlfriend out fishing. They want to spend time with you, and you want to spend time with them, or you wouldn't be with them. And if they don't like to fish, they want to be with you anyhow, so they can read a book or just enjoy the scenery and, like Craig said, the bald eagles or whatever. But once they start fishing, you might have the greatest fishing partner that you've ever had right there.
Yeah, me and Nikki spent a lot of nights out on the river, and we had a great time. I mean, even if we didn't catch anything, we still had a great time. A lot of memories made that way.
Absolutely, we Cindy and I fished most all the tournaments together, and we go a lot to different events and stuff, and we have a good time. And like I say, it's one of the best things that I've ever done, because we can do it together. And a lot of the other stuff I've done was kind of a singles thing, and she would tolerate it for years. But we have our time that we spend together now is just outstanding, and we have a really, really fun time. And she's just so much help to me when we go do these things, and I couldn't do most of it without her.
Yeah, well, you're only here for a short little while, so make the most of it, and especially It was.
That's exactly right, Craig. Chuck, have you got any closing statements for this evening? You're muted, dude.
I just want to remind everybody that's going to be fishing the Cabela's King Cat on Wheeler that the Alabama Catfish Trail is going to be having a tournament on Wheeler the weekend before that. So if you want to come out and fish that one also, and you can use that for your pre-fishing or whatever, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be going out of Ingalls Harbor at 7 a.m. Come join us. And yeah, speaking of going out, me and Leanne's going to spend a few days next week with my brother and his girlfriend on Wheeler. We got a cabin and stuff, and we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'll be good. I hope Leanne's feeling a little bit better so she can get out. I know that lady wants to fish as bad as anybody I know. She loves to fish, and she puts some pretty good fish in the boat. So, it'll be good for her to get out and you guys have some fun, and it's your brother's birthday. That'll be an outstanding thing.
Hey,
Yes.
let her make you look bad, Chuck. Nikki's made me look bad several times.
Yes, she does.
Yeah, that's they call it. A lot of people call it beginner's luck, ladies' luck. It's a woman thing. They just can't wait to get out there and put that fish in the boat and make you hold it because they can't hold it up.
I let her catch them all. I love to see her catch them.
I feel the same way. I would much rather see Cindy catch the fish than myself. I know I've spent the time and I found that fish, and if she catches it, I'm thrilled that she gets to do it.
Exactly.
There ain't no way I could beat Leanne to the rod. She's cranking down on it before I even know it's going. Before it loaded up. I mean, she's already.
That's pretty funny.
On it.
Our buddy Claude Reynolds has a deal going on that I want to mention right quick. Austin McNew, they're putting on a catfishing tournament for this young man that lives over in his area. It's going to be a benefit tournament, and he has got outstanding number of responses for people going to put up prizes and things for this tournament. This young man, of all things, an all-star football player, got injured in a sledding accident. Quite a tragic thing. He's working to get back to where he can function like he used to do. They had him standing up, and he's got a lot of things going on. But they're going to have a benefit tournament. These kind of things that happens to these people, the cost and money that it takes to get these people back on their feet is astronomical. And if we can get some help to him, if you get a chance to go fish this tournament, I believe it's going to be May the 14th. It might check Claude's site or page to check that out. I know that I've actually talked to this young man on the phone. He is a very nice person. I am anxious to get to meet him. And if you're in that area during that time frame and you're fishing, go over there and check that tournament out. I think it will be a fun time. It's going to be a great event, and the money that they're going to give to this family for their expenses is something that is very rewarding to do. So if you get a chance, check that out. Paul Ragsdale does a bunch of stuff that people never realize. Paul puts on a bunch of stuff for people that is in assisted living facilities. He does a bunch of stuff for youth and stuff that does not have the chance to get out and do stuff. He buys mostly out of his own pocket and a couple of close friends of his tackle boxes and rods and reels, and we're talking about inexpensive stuff to get them to where they can go out and fish. And he does a lot of things for these. This stuff costs money, and I know everybody says, well, everybody's after money, after money, after money. But think about this when you're going, when you got an extra buck or two, and contact Paul and find out how that can be put to good use, because so many of us, life is so busy, we don't have the time to spend to do the things that Paul does, visiting with those people in the nursing homes and assisted living places, and the youth that don't get to go fishing. He takes care of that end in his area, and it's a great event that he does, and he's able to do it. And I want just to let you know that anybody that gets a chance or has the idea that they could do something like that, he would be very happy to tell you how to go about doing that. So that's a great thing. Twisted Cat Outdoors will be holding a tournament this coming Saturday. It was scheduled to be at the Columbia Bottoms boat ramp. The flood destroyed the road, a bunch of stuff around that, and it has been moved to the Sioux Passage boat ramp, which you can get on the Facebook page and send Alex a message, and he will tell you how to get there. I've not been to that ramp. I have passed it on the river, and it's just up the Missouri River a short ways from the Columbia Bottom ramp. I know after talking to some guys this weekend that they've been catching a few fish down there. It's a little hush-hush, but it always is. Them guys are not going to tell you they're landing 70 or 80-pound fish before the day before a tournament, but they are catching some fish, and I'm not sure, but I understand the bait is a little tough to get, but it can be found. You just have to work to get it. The rivers are hit and miss a lot of times on bait anyhow. If you get a chance, contact Alex, get set up to be in this tournament. It'll be a lot of fun. Might be a little cold. I don't think it's going to be terrible, though. The forecast is calling for 40s, 50s, something like that, and sunshine, so it'll be a lot of fun. And some of the great fishermen that's in our area is going to be at that tournament, and you'll see a lot of good fish caught.
Yeah, not a better time to fish. The conditions right now, by this weekend, there will be some huge fish caught in that tournament.
Oh, I think so too. Bobby Vargas just sent us a note that Ray Stitcher and Joe Sandbauer is putting on a veterans event on the Potomac River in October. So keep us updated on that, and you know, that's another cause that is outstanding that we need to make sure that we take care of those veterans. They have done so much for us, and we can never repay them for what they do. We fish the Fishing for Freedom tournament in Quincy, Illinois every year, and take a soldier out with us, and it's the most rewarding thing that I've ever been a part of. We enjoy it so much, and them guys, they give everything, and it's a chance for us to give back a little bit for everything they do. What else we got, guys? Is that going to do it?
That's it on my end.
Craig, thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We enjoyed having you a lot. Keep us posted on the baby progress. We'll get you back on here, and you can show her to us when she arrives. I'd love to do that. Me and you's gonna have to get back out on the water here for long, but you take care of that baby deal and the fishing, and we can always do that.
Oh yeah, that's my main focus right now is that little Macy.
I'll bet you. Well, thanks again for being on the show. And for Chuck Davison, I'm Lyle Stokes. Thanks for watching Catfish Weekly. Next Monday night, Jason Aycock. Nope, I'm sorry. Next Monday night, we're going to have the Spouses Show. The 7th of March, we are going to have Joyce Buse and Amanda Morris, and Jason Mathena's wife is going to be on the show with us, and we're going to talk about how these people support their husbands in the tournament fishing, you know, and they take off and go, and they have to stay home and take care of the stuff, and not all of them do that. A lot of them go with them, but it's going to be a really interesting show, and we might even find out some stuff about these guys that nobody else knows about, and I told Jamie, I said, you just need to go out there on that depth finder of Jason's and get me a couple of coordinates and send them to me, and we'll have a really good time. But we'll see how that works out. So, night, everybody. We'll see you next Monday night.